episode of Reptile Fight Club. I'm Justin Julander, and I am your host this evening, or morning, or whatever time it may be. When is what? And here with me is Mr. Chuck Poland. Say hello to the people, Chuck.
Hey ho, how you doing?
Yeah, so things good.
Things are
We're getting
good.
snowed on.
What
I know
does-
you don't know what that is.
Well, I know I am aware of a thing called
Lots of
snow, but yes,
I guess you did grow up where it snows. Okay,
yes,
so,
yes.
yeah.
I left there and never came back. But
we
yeah.
are getting dumped on it. It's wonderful. It's nice and light and fluffy. Good powder. Heading up tomorrow to carve a few tracks.
You just took the question and ran with it right out of my mind. I was going to ask if you were shredding the slopes this weekend. Nice.
Heck yeah. Yeah, my in-laws are going to come up on Saturday. We're going to go out doing a little skiing with them. So
Nice.
hopefully it comes back. I guess it usually does, so be good. We picked up my daughter. She came home from Costa Rica, so that was exciting.
All right.
Good to have her back.
All the Julanders are back
Yep.
in Conus now, huh?
Almost, yeah. Well, they were all back in the U.S., yeah.
Yes, that's
Conus?
yes.
What is Conus?
Conus, continental United States.
Oh, Conus.
You've
yes,
never heard
bro.
that?
I have not.
All right.
Not
Well, that's
put
a
that
very.
way.
I guess maybe
Sorry.
that's a military.
That's a
I don't
military.
know. To me, that's how I've always heard it. But I guess I've always kind of heard it around military
Okay.
people.
Okay.
So
It's good
maybe.
to know. Good to
Yeah.
know.
There you go. CONUS.
Yeah.
If somebody says
All
CONUS
right.
to you, they're not trying to call you a name or something. So.
You military people and all your abbreviations. all
Hey,
your
acronyms, dude. You know what?
POTUS and TONUS and CONUS.
Yeah, I think the acronym thing is a little out of hand because even I'm like,
Oh.
I like literally have to like take an acronym and like associate it to like, okay, what are we talking about here? And then like take each letter and like try to figure out what it would be, because
Yeah.
they just over acronym everything and it's like
It's nuts.
grossly ridiculous.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Listening to him talk, it's like almost... Yeah, we deal with a few, government employees, and government employees do it a lot, too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we do.
anytime we have a military government employee, like, it's pretty crazy when we're dealing with somebody from, like, one
The
of the
government?
military research groups or whatever, they're always using all sorts of... Yeah.
Funny names and weird stuff, and they're doing dumb shit. That's us.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, welcome to RFC. I'm with CP, and I'm JJ, and we'll get underway.
Wow, that was pretty good.
Nah,
That was pretty good.
They're pretty short acronyms. We need bigger
Yeah.
ones, I guess, if you want to sound legit. Well, AEHCCE has looks like they got lots of copies in hand. Did you catch that one? Australasian Lapids, Husbandry, Captive Care, and Ecology. By
Jesus,
Scott
man.
and Ty Eiper. I saw that it's available on Amazon now.
I
in the
did see
US,
that.
So
That's awesome.
I need to
Get your
pick up a
copy?
copy.
I know, me too.
Yeah, I think they've kind of sold out all their copies. Or I think they said they had a few left in Australia, so they got like a truckload. Or Scott about blew his tires out, bringing all the copies home. So I know that feeling, and I know the wonderful joy you're going through now, Scott and Ty, of boxing all those books up and sending them out to everybody that's ordered one. It's a barrel of monkeys.
It's a
lot of fun.
laborious gift that you're giving.
Yes. So, congratulations on the release of that book. I think we might have mentioned that before, but I thought I'd mention that there are copies available. I think Eco's got a few, so that's who I'll be buying it through. I think I'm waiting to see if I get like Christmas money or something that I have to spend on something, because I never know what I need. I just I did pick up a generator though, so that's going to be a nice little piece of equipment that I have in my back pocket in case we lose power with all the snow or something. I can heat the reptile room, and it's getting cold, so I had to turn on the heater in the reptile room. It's got down into the 60s or maybe even the high 50s overnight. So yeah, it's a little chilly for my taste in there. So
Yeah.
I bumped up the heat a little bit, and we've got everybody kind of going through their winter slow down, so that's been a little nice, kind of slowing things down in the reptile room, pairing things up, getting things together. Paired up some pygmy pythons. I need to throw some other stuff together. Got the jungles paired up. Need to pair up some inlands, but I guess they can go anytime. The blackheads seem to be at it and doing good, and need to throw some womas together too. But yeah, 'tis the season, huh?
Look at you. Yeah, that's a lot.
I'm kind of behind the times, I think. I probably should have thrown them together earlier, but what do you do?
You're not out yet. Yeah, I think you're all right.
That's true. That's true.
So,
but it would be nice to get a few more womas and blackheads this year than last year. Hopefully it goes better. But yeah, the inlands are doing really well, man. There's some that are turning out really nice. So
yeah, I saw that holdback you posted on the chat. Man. Nuts, dude. That thing's crazy. I know. It really will be a crazy animal. So exciting.
I mean, it just went through that shed, so I'm hoping it's going to keep developing nicely like that. Because it's funny because you kind of look at them, and you're like, oh, okay, that one looks all right, and then it sheds, you're like, oh wow, and then another one sheds, you're like, oh wow, that one. But so I'm just keeping back 2 males. I may even just keep the one. I don't know. I'm trying to see how I feel, but I'm getting through the list. I guess there's no rush because I can't really ship until it warms up a little bit, or at least after the holidays. I don't mind shipping as much, as long as it's not too crazy cold. But like as long as it's going somewhere a little warmer, or it's not crazy weather going on, then it's
I feel
ship in the
I feel like
winter than
I feel like my hardest thing is it's like usually fine to ship here. It's usually like connecting hub in Indianapolis, or like wherever that connecting hub is. That's where I like look at those temperatures where the box is going to kind of sit for a while or whatever. That's where I kind of worry. But yeah, I never really have much of an issue, and it's like I could ship out of here most, winter, summer, and not use a heat pack or anything insulated. But I just worry, like in the interim. But at the same time too, like I think you need to be responsible about it, and But I think a lot of people freak out about with an insulated box, and it depends on the species. Definitely depends on the species. Stuff that's most carpets, they'll do all right, man. I think you can ship into cooler weather fairly safely with carpets. So I'm kind of with you on that.
I'd rather ship it when it's cold than when it's hot.
Hands down. Yeah, hands down. Yeah. No argument there. So hey, man, I
once shipped an adult pair of Brettles. And they got to their location, and they were like, the guy's like, oh, they're dead. They're like frozen, and they got lost. They were in transit for a few days, and he got them. He's like, oh yeah, they're totally gone. And I'm like, dang it. So I'm trying to figure, I'll get him a refund or, whatever. And then like he came home from work, and they were crawling around the cage. I'm like, it's a good thing he put them in the cage, I think he put the box in the cage and then kind of left it open, and then he came home and they were crawling around just fine. Sure. It's like, never mind. They're out and about and they're happy. So
I mean, crazy and that's what I'm saying is like I think people discount the metabolic shutdown that these animals do when it gets really cold. They can get really, really lean as far as body metabolism. So. But I wouldn't go mucking around with losing animals in the mail around Christmas time in winter in North America on a regular basis just to test that theory or anything. That's bollocks. But
yeah, CONUS. You don't want to be shipping in CONUS during
holidays. Dude. CONUS don't play.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I got to pick out my male diamond python, so I got a pair waiting for it to warm up a bit, or also to slow down with the holiday shipping. So that'll be nice to have a new project, and
that's badass.
That a little bit. So
yeah, you'll love them, dude.
Yeah,
they're so fun.
Yeah,
so fun.
I need to probably. as always, I need to move out a few animals. I'm sure
Yeah.
I need to list a few for sale or sell them locally as pets.
Yeah,
or
my temperature graph is slowly tightening towards those lower temperatures, and so the daytime high and the low time low are getting down there. And I had my male diamond. It just was like in the corner of the cage, hadn't moved in like 3 days. And I was kind of like, I'm a little concerned. Like, are you okay? And the other day it was very cold, and I said, I'm just gonna. The female, she's like, nope, into the hide where all the moss is and is like buried, and like she's probably experiencing maybe the 60s, the low 60s in that area, but. I was just like, I'm going to pull this guy inside, and I just threw him in a tub in the house for the night and let him kind of, warm up to whatever the low in our house is at night, which isn't super high, but and then just put him back out, and then he went right into a hide, and I haven't seen him. So it's like, it's like that whole thing we talk about with like the Terry thing about reptiles making good decisions, and I don't know if he was fine, and he's just like, he's like, hey, what are you doing? I was good, or whether
like finally it's the temperature I want. And go pulling him out.
It's like,
or if he's just sitting there going dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was really cold, and he didn't even try to bite me, which is grossly uncharacteristic for him. So that guy is like,
Did you just get the I mean, usually diamonds are pretty laid back, right? I mean, did you just get
these two
luck
are
of the draw, or
well,
what?
so they're
So they came from Todd. Maybe that's the reason.
That's the problem. Everything I've ever gotten from those, like, they're like, no, psychotic exotics is not just a name; it's a lifestyle. Rah! You know what I mean? They're like, like the I've got albino variegata from him, and they are the biggest. Like, the minute they figure out that somebody's in that cage, the flattest head you've ever seen, and they're just psychos, like spazzing out, like flipping out, striking at everything, like, and you can get them out and you can handle them, but it's like, both the diamonds and the variegata, that once you get them out, you can handle them, but they're like, they may take that opportunity to just like turn their head and fucking latch onto you, and they do not let go, and they're like, then they get all pissed and they start wrapping you and pulling, and it's like, you punk. So then you got to get them with the warm water treatment, and they'll let go after that, and they're fine. But it's just like, every time, and it's cool. I me, I don't mind a feisty snake, but it's like, definitely.
That's I'm hoping Terry has a little bit calmer animals. I guess we'll find out. But they're here to stay, so I'm not too worried about their temperaments.
And I don't handle my stuff a ton, and I mean, I would say my Tracier are like calmer than the carpets. Most of the carpets that I keep, even the big coastals, will take a swipe at me. I don't trust them. Like, I don't handle them a lot, and I just don't like fully trust them, especially because those coastals are huge, and I do not want to get bit by those things.
Yeah, that doesn't seem appealing. Yeah,
no,
to take
at all.
A big bite from those.
Yeah, nope.
Yep. Good times.
Yeah. So.
Well. Yeah. I just, aside from pairing stuff up and shipping out a few books and posters, still it's been pretty normal. So
nice. That's good.
Good times.
Yeah.
I guess if anybody wants a copy of the book or a poster of the carpet pythons, hit me up. I think there's still time before the holidays, depending on when this comes out, I guess. But shameless plug. If you're interested, shoot me an email. You can find my info at AustralianAddiction.com, but still a little bit of time. And I don't know, not to toot my own horn, but I'll just toot Nick's horn because,
Toot, toot.
Right. Toot, toot. The more complete carpet python, I would recommend the book. We put a lot of work into it and had some fun with it, so I hope I need to get some more feedback from people. We ought to have somebody on to get some fights going about how the taxonomy splits we made and see what how it's being received over in Australia. I need to catch up with some folks over there too. So one of these days, I don't know. Not a lot of talking on the phone time, I suppose.
That's Nick's job.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you think? You ready to fight?
Yeah. What do we have oh my gosh, there's stuff going on in my house.
Oh man. You're doing some construction over there?
No, well, one would think that's what it sounds like between the dogs and my family just, barreling through the house
smashing.
like yeah. Like, I'm
Well,
recording
I guess we
over
can,
here.
We can maybe we can do this at the end, but we're planning on doing a holiday show next week. So I guess depending on when you hear this, look us up on YouTube for the holiday show. I don't know. Last year we didn't do one, but NPR and the Aussie Herp podcast, and I think another group did it. We're like, man, we're missing out on the fun. We better do a holiday show. So we'll have a few guests and get some good times rolling for the holidays to kind of finish out the year, and then get some shows going for next year in the new year. So
yeah, stay tuned. We'll dress Justin up like a reindeer. It'll be live, so you can see him.
And you're going to be an elf, right?
That's correct. That is correct.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I will be an elf, or I will dress up as Mrs. Claus.
I did enjoy the NPR holiday show. I guess we can talk about that at the end.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Let's talk. Yeah. So
yeah. I'm amped up. I'm fired up.
Are you? Put your dukes
We're
up.
We're going to talk about the fuzzy critters today, the feeders, and the question
I thought
is
you were talking about the Mackenwookies.
The Mackenwookies. Should you breed your own Mackenwookies, or should you buy frozen Mackenwookies?
Oh man!
So frozen feeders versus breeding your own, which is better?
Well, you have to buy an oversized freezer to fit your Mackenwookies.
That's
bigger.
True.
They have to be bigger than the freezer to put your podfathers in.
Eric.
Yeah. That's correct. That's correct.
You need a Mackenwookie size freezer to store your frozen Mackenwookies. All right. This is not a threat towards Owen. We are talking about feeders today, and if it's better to breed your own or buy them frozen. All right, well, let's give the coin an old toss around, see what side you want to pick here. So go ahead and call it. Let's see if your luck carries over to this week.
Heads.
It is heads.
Nice.
The luck of Chuck. I guess your December is your month.
Nice.
You got the lucky streak this month. Well, what do you think? You want to say yay, breed your own, or nay, buy them?
So, because I am a man who has bred my own, but I currently do not, I will take the no, you shouldn't breed your own rodents side of the argument. And I know since you do breed your rodents, this kind of makes sense with me. So, and of course, as you know, in typical fashion, of course. You don't
even need to say it. Please don't even say it.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey, and cheers!
Come on!
Cheers to the holiday show, and thank you for having great chemistry with me, Justin. We do. I agree with those guys. We have good chemistry. We do well together. So, cheers, my friend.
We do. All right. No, this is I've really enjoyed doing this show with you. So
yeah,
we'll save the sappy stuff for later. But yeah,
all right, fair
enough.
A
lot of fun.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
right. Put your dukes up. Get to work. Let's go.
Yeah, you make this show, man. All right. Well, I'm going to come out, swinging with the obvious thing. It's so much cheaper to breed your own rodents. you basically pay for the, for your, I guess you're paying a little bit for your time. You got to put some time into it, but you're paying for the supplies. And around here, I'm picking up supplies at the local feed store. So, a bag of shavings is maybe $12, and I have to maybe use 3 of them a month. So, not too bad. And then food, I think the feed store I get it from has their own line of rodent chow, and so I buy, kind of like that's the staple for a lot of them. And then I buy the Missouri, a bag of Missouri rodent block, the breeder block, and use that for my breeder rodents. But so it's the feed costs have gone up, and so I imagine that's why the price of frozen rodents has gone up tremendously lately too. So, and then, well, I'm going to start out there. So,
okay.
The costs of, you have to have a place to put them, but the house that we got has a place, and so it may not be ideal right now, especially after and I probably would have been happy to take the other side, because right now I'm dealing with rodent Mageddon, and I just had to go out there before we started recording and switch out the lines because a couple rogue rats are still loose, although I believe I've got them all now. I said that
you
last
said
week.
that last episode, just so we're, yeah. So,
yeah. But go ahead if you want to jump in here. I think that's the main draw for me is having a lower cost, cheap. It's a lot more cost effective to breed your own.
Yeah, I think my my big with rodents is just the amount of work. It's a constant amount of work to stay on top of them. They get, they're obviously stinky animals, and if you do not stay on top of that, it gets overwhelmed. The smell can get overwhelming. You really, for your own health, need to do it in a very ventilated area, which requires, like you said, you're fortunate enough to have, a disattached area, a barn or whatever, storage area where you can do it. And there is that additional resource cost because you're buying the food, and you need to build the racks or make the racks, and you've got water that needs to be changed, or you need to invest in a watering system that works, and you're constantly kind of having to do that upkeep. So I agree with you that there's a convenience there on the back end with always having available rodents of all sizes, which is just fantastic part of
breeding
your
you took
own.
my next point.
Oops.
You're
Anyway,
nipping my points in the bud here. No, I'm sure everybody saw that coming.
But I do definitely think there's yes, I agree with you that the cost of buying your own rodents is definitely subject to market fluctuations. But just like feeding yourself, it gets expensive to feed yourself. It gets expensive to feed other things. Like the cost of everything is going up. So it's to me, it's kind of just like, well, yep, that's the price of doing business. I think when those costs are high, you can kind of look at, how many people am I breeding this year? How many rodents do I need to feed? You really can start to look at, what your invested necessary cost is. And I think with how we tend to overfeed stuff, it's easy to, feed too much or to buy too much, and I've done that in the past where I bought a bunch of frozen stuff and I feel like, man, what I miscalculated this because I'm well over 6 months with frozen stuff and I still have it, and I'm like, I should have done a better job at calculating what I needed here. So I think what I would say is as long as you can calculate your efficiency, and there, you can find, and I guess the other thing I would say is the closer, if you can find somebody breeding and selling rodents closer to you, which, a lot of people do their own startup kind of rodent thing. And if you can find a supplier who's close to you, that is definitely a way that you can cut some of those costs out, especially in the shipping department, for buying your own rodents. And, for me, I agree with you that, having feeders always available is nice, but just being able to go out to my freezer, pick out what I need, thaw it out, and feed it off, and not have to do anything else is no stinky garage, no, extra anything I need to do to that extra money I'm paying to somebody else for the problem, right? And maybe if my collection was bigger, if I had a big collection, then maybe some of that starts to make, the calculation starts to change. But I think for most people, their collection is modest enough that, that it's a kind of how you want to slice it. Do you want to do the extra work, or do you just want to pay somebody else to do the extra work? And I think, for where I am in my life and for God's sakes, I'm almost dead, so my time is precious to me. I will just pay somebody else to do that, right? Because every second counts for me.
That's good. Nearly dead Chuck here.
Yes.
Well, don't die yet. We still got to finish the show. But I would say, you're right. I mean, there is a little bit of a convenience there, but it can also become an inconvenience, because if you buy too many of one size and then your animals grow beyond that size, you're sitting on something and it's taking up space in a freezer, and you run the risk of having it get freezer burn or go bad, whatever, lose quality, lose nutrients or whatever, in the freezer. And so, I think sometimes you can lose money that way as well by not being able to use what you bought because you didn't plan well, or like you said, maybe you took too long to feed it off or didn't feed it off quickly enough, and so it's getting freezer burned as you're waiting. Also, a lot of the rodent companies ship it in like Ziploc bags. They're not like. When I freeze down extra or surplus rodents, I can use one of those vacuum sealers and do it upright and have more quality frozen rodents and stuff like that. And I found that I've done a lot of rodent sales. Like, I'll sell frozen rodents. Not so much anymore. I haven't really advertised it, and I kind of got sick of doing that, meeting people and stuff to sell them. So, I'm not really helping my case there. But you can make some extra money selling off your surplus rodents. And I had when there's kind of ma and pa pet stores, a lot of times you can just take in a load to them and either trade for goods or sell them off and have store credit, or get cash in hand, walk out selling your feeders that way too. And I've had requests from different, even rodent breeders in the state have said, hey, if you have enough extras, let me know. I might want to buy them from you, that kind of thing. So there seems to be an ever-present need for feeders, because the job kind of sucks. So you're right. I mean, it is stinky. It is a pain. But once you get a good system, you can get it down to, maybe for my rodent collection, I spend maybe 2 hours if there's no complications, no loose rats chewing on water lines. Then it takes me maybe an hour or two at the most. Now, winter presents a problem. I've been having to worry about frozen, hoses. If water gets in there and it freezes, you're not able to fill up your reservoirs for the rodent the watering systems or something. That's been a pain. I had to spend a lot of time trying to thaw out a hose that was outside, that was long enough. And one of my faucets up front doesn't work, so I had to buy some like little covers for the outdoor faucet so I could turn them on during the winter. That was a bit of a struggle last week. But, once I got it figured out and I got the hose thawed out and drain it out and put it in the garage or something, it's not a big deal. But there are those added hassles. But, I think the risk of wasting frozen rodents, it happens. I think it happens to most people. You don't need that size anymore, or if you do, you're feeding something that's way too big, something way too small, or trying to feed something small, something too large for it or something like that, just trying to use up what you have. So that's another risk of buying.
I definitely think probably some of the issues, and usually I agree with you, you can get a system going down pretty well, but I always had issue, sometimes watering issues where the Edstrom valves would continue to leak and the tub would flood, and obviously any type of escaped rodents not good, especially where I live. An escaped rodent's not in my yard; it's in my neighbor's yard, and I don't need that. Yeah. I don't need that smoke. I think probably my biggest frustration was I was breeding rodents in my garage, and it's not an air conditioned or a climate controlled environment, and so I would there is kind of a. I found a system that worked, that like when it would, I would freeze all of my excess live stuff that didn't get fed off, and I would save it for when the summer got so hot that my colonies shut down. And that's a big issue with breeding rodents, is they need to be kept cool. Otherwise they get too hot, they will shut down, and your production completely resets until they get back into a thermal regime that it works for them, which that can totally suck. And so there's definitely kind of that. It goes to a convenience thing, whereas I don't deal with that anymore. I just have to make sure that what I'm buying is, sized right and the quantities are right, and it's really kind of a going through your collection and kind of, making, measuring twice and cutting once, I believe is the phrase that might kind of apply here. I think for me, having, as I said, old guy, not a lot of time left on this earth, I would rather spend it, doing animal, doing snake stuff rather than doing rodent stuff. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that second reminder of your mortality, and that's good to remember. Chuck is very old. Now,
that's correct.
I'm not going to tell you I'm the same age, because I like to think I have a lot more years left than Chuck's making it.
Aren't you older than me? You're older than me. You are. You definitely are older than me. Which just means I am facing my mortality much better than you are. But
according to the NPR folks, I'm an android, so I will never die. I will continue. Yeah, so
you are a sweet lady DDP fueled android,
rock climbing fool. Yep, that's right. So
I agree with that statement.
I think another big thing too that I realized pretty quick when I tried to get frozen rodents for my early collection was that Heidi did not want frozen rodents in her freezer touching her food, so you have to worry about getting your own freezer to store those rodents, unless you have a very understanding wife.
Well done. You're getting out in front of my next point here. Well done.
Yeah, that's another expense. You got to buy a freezer and find a place for it and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, you have to do that too if you're freezing down your excess from your live collection. I did find that I bought a CO2 tank from the local air supply place.
West Air,
Sailing Away,
air gas.
But one of those air gas shops or whatever. And I got the tank, and I bought the tank probably in 2015, and it's still going strong. Like I use it maybe once every few weeks.
Was it like a 25-pound tank? Is it a?
It's about 3 foot tall.
It's probably about a 25. Yeah, 50 pounds, like maybe the 4-footer or something like that. Those are 50s.
And it was, the tank wasn't too bad. It was $150 or something back
that's not
then,
bad.
and then
that's not bad.
The regulator was maybe another 50 or something, so it wasn't too terrible. And that's been really nice because I can, I just can gas them instead of having to euthanize them another way or feed live, so that's really convenient. But it's lasted me a lot longer than I thought it would. I thought I'd at least have to take in the tank to get it refilled, with CO2 or whatever. But that's an approved humane method for rodent euthanasia, so that's a nice thing to have. So having that aspect of it makes that aspect or that idea of having to euthanize the rodents yourself not too overwhelming or terrible.
See, I just let somebody else have the blood on their hands. Mine are already euthanized, and they're neatly packed. It's like going to the
fund that blood.
Yeah, it's like going to the store and buying chicken rather than slaughtering the chicken yourself and gutting it and doing all that. So
I don't gut my rodents, so
no, I know that. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
But so I guess the freezer's kind of 6s because you probably need one too if you're breeding your own rodents for the excess. And it is like you said, there is kind of some ebb and flow of their production, and so you have to count on that. And I do freeze different sizes so I have them available when the colonies kind of slow down. So that can be a good thing. You can make your own frozen rodents, so you can kind of have the best of both worlds there. And then if something dramatic happens, you could have some saved up. But the other challenge there is you got to kind of cycle through your older stuff, or sell it, or get rid of. Sell it before it becomes an issue or something. But so there is that challenge, and sometimes you end up throwing stuff out that way too. So it's not the perfect system necessarily. I think what was you mentioned the Edstrom valves, and I had that same problem. I switched over to a different type of valve that I got from Triple L, and they have been solid. I haven't had a single leak due to a leaky valve or due to them sticking stuff up in the valve or whatever.
So
it's been
huge.
A dream.
So huge.
There is nothing worse than smelling that.
Yeah, and you know it. You know it when you walk in there. And you're like, oh shit!
And then you got to pull out a tub that's probably like full of water. And I actually, I've been thinking up a system of having some kind of riveted holes or something where you have a metal surrounding a hole, and then so you can drain it, so it's not going to fill up with water, and then having like a system of rain gutters or something on the back side of the tank, so it leaks into that, and then flows into a bucket that has one of those like sensors.
I just hate it because rats are so good at chewing. Like if you give them an edge surface to get their teeth on, it almost doesn't matter. Like you could have aluminum, it doesn't. They will chew through that shit eventually.
Yeah, that's that is another risk of breeding your own rodents, is them chewing and getting out. And I definitely am experiencing the pain of that right now. And but during COVID, there was a shortage on the pans that I use that I get from Lowe's or whatever.
Yeah, you just use like concrete mixing pans.
Yep, for the rats. And so they didn't have any of those for a number of months. And I had thrown, like one got a hole in it and I threw it out, and then I went to buy some more and they're like, oh, we don't have any more. And they didn't I checked maybe a few months ago, but what I did is I bought some sheet metal and some rivets and just a riveter and just rivet in and repair any holes, and that's worked okay. Yeah, but it's not the best option. Yeah. Rodents chewing out of bins is a big risk.
That's a huge thing in designing, and thankfully people have suffered the ills of poor design prior to us, and I think like you can you can YouTube it or modern day internet search it and get kind of the help you need to, but like you said, so, all this supply chain shortage crap that's going on just makes it very frustrating, especially like when you're trying to get feed from your feed store and they can't get their feed, and it just kind of affects across the board, and that's not one of those things where I would like to say like, oh yeah, well, when you can't get your feed, then it's hard to feed your rodents and your thing. But if you can't get feed, it's hard for whoever's producing the rodents that you buy, frozen thawed. It's hard for them to do it. So then their supply shortages go, then they have supply shortages. So it's, that's an across the board issue. It's not, it's not.
And I think it affected me much less because I was breeding my own rodents. You can feed rodents a lot of things. I mean, rodents are really good at surviving on a lot of different food items, and we had a lot of produce and stuff in the garden, and so you can make do even if they're out of your rodent chow for the week or whatever. But
that's a fair
luckily
statement.
It wasn't too bad. But yeah, I heard a lot of complaining about people ordering live. That it was difficult to get any. Breeding your own rodents, there is some startup costs associated with that, and especially if you're buying like a new Freedom Breeder rack or something like that, can be quite expensive. I've generally made my own.
Those are
rodent
freaking
racks.
Sweet, though. I mean,
they are. Yeah, that is a nice system.
Ed Bradley had a set of those, and it was just so clean and so nice, and.
Yeah,
I mean,
they have done a good job. Now, I have seen, you still run into the same issues, but I did see they had some the rodent racks that had a metal, like a metal tube or casing around the water lines. So even if you had a rodent that got out, it wouldn't be able to chew up the water lines, which is a pretty ingenious thing. Yeah, and I thought, and I actually went back and did that to my water line. Not all of them, but... and I probably should go back and improve
finish
that a
off.
bit,
Exactly.
Yeah, because I encased my rodent water lines, this kind of the soft flexi tube water with PVC pipe, and so I that worked out well. But then I had that on the second to the bottom rack because I just took out all the lines after they chewed them up. I just took them all out and put everything up in the row above. And then encased that in PVC, and it worked, and they weren't chewing it up anymore. But then I put the lines back again, and then I thought I had them all captured, but then I had a few more that were still out, and so they chewed up those bottom ones again.
So frustrating.
Gosh dang it.
So frustrating.
I just went out to mouse soup this afternoon, and kind of lame, but. So there is some vigilance. You need to check on them and make sure that things are going well. But overall, I think having the new non-Edstrom nozzles. I don't remember. I should probably look that up. But
what do they call it? What were they? They were Ag something. Were they
Ag Select made they sold the Edstroms. I don't even know if they sell those anymore. I was trying to find those on the Ag Select website, and I had a really hard time navigating that site anymore. Like I couldn't find the rodent supplies because I was looking to buy some of the the shut-off valves and stuff like that for the end of the line where you can bleed it if you need to, and I couldn't find those anywhere. So I ended up getting some different ones from Triple L, but. Yeah, I haven't ordered anything from Ag Select for a long time.
Yeah,
I think
it just sucks. Like you get a piece of shaving up in those Edstrom valves, and it doesn't clog the diaphragm, but it cocks. The diaphragm cocks open, and it just leaks. It's such a frustrating.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's
I think some of that is design, like how you design the tub and that area. But man, that's such a freaking.
So they just
freaking rodent.
They're just called rodent drinking valves on Triple L, and they may be elsewhere. That's the place that I found them. And somebody recommended. I can't remember who recommended those, or maybe you heard it on a podcast or something. But They're spring loaded, so you can't open them and replace parts and stuff like you can with the Edstroms. But man, they've been solid. Like, I haven't had any issues with them. Knock on wood. You know, aside from rodents chewing on the flexi valve, so that's been really nice. And yeah, they're $3 a piece, or you know, $2.75 if you buy 10. I think I bought 50, so they were $2.60 each. But yeah, I have plenty on hand in case
extras.
I need to replace them. But I haven't had to replace any of them. Yeah, I was thinking. So, you know, that does require a little bit of planning, but I make my own racks, and I've had pretty good luck, you know, keeping things contained and kind of filling the space that I need, or building enough for the number of rodents I need to produce. And I think I have a pretty good balance. Like, pretty much anything that needs to be fed gets fed. And back in the day when I was using the Edstroms, like, once in a while, if you had a leak, that was another thing that you might think about. Like, and I haven't done this yet, but I had planned to do this, is have different rows on different reservoirs. So if they do chew through lines, it only floods, or it only, because back with the Edstroms, like when a rodent would flood its cage, all the reservoir would come out into the cage, and so then you'd have one cage flooded, but then the rest of the mice were going without water because
right, and
of that one flooded cage.
And that'll shut down. Yeah. That'll completely shut down production too if they go without water for too long.
That does, yeah. That shuts down, especially mouse production.
Yeah, 100%.
They can only go like 24 hours, or they just get messed up for like 3 weeks. You know, it takes them a while to come back again. So usually, I've found that when that happens, I just kind of euthanize stuff and replace the breeders and just kind of start fresh again.
Yeah.
And another thing to be aware of is you don't want to bring new rodents into a colony, an existing colony. That's like a big no-no. So
huge.
If you have established colonies, do not find some, other feeders and say, "Oh, I need more mice," and introduce those. So
that's the fastest way to colony crash anything. Oh my God! Yeah.
Yep.
Nope, that's 100% true.
And I don't know how much, maybe that's common knowledge, but that's something I wanted to make sure I brought up. If you're planning on breeding your own rodents, make sure you don't add new animals from different colonies, because they usually have. And we see that in our reptiles too. You want to quarantine and stuff like that, but I don't know. If I've never really tried quarantining rodents. I just think feeder or like lab rodents are so inbred that if you mix from another line, and I don't know if it's I don't know what it is. You probably your doctoral degree probably tell me better than I know, but man, they do not do well, and it's a shit show. If you ever do that, if you run into a problem where your colonies are crashing and you haven't brought in a new line, it's better to just call everything off and start again with fresh animals. Yep. Start over.
I mean, so that's definitely a downside, is if you get you do have an issue that's kind of out of your control, you really will pay the price of the reset. You got to get everything restarted again, and then wait for your breeders to start producing again, which hopefully you can get the numbers in there to kind of get production back up quickly. But yeah. Are you frozen? You there? Okay. I thought you froze.
And that does require, also some planning. If you have to restart, you have to have a supply. So you have to know where you're going to get your live rodents from. And that can be tricky as well, because you don't want to just buy from anybody necessarily. And lab supply companies, I mean, we buy a lot of rodents for, the lab in at the university. But you don't want to... you can't get it from them. Like, they're not going to sell to somebody without a federal ID number or whatever, some university or something like that. You might find one, but I have heard of some of these rodent supply companies like selling off their euthanized excess rodents, and I know Ben was getting some through somebody, back east, and it's hard to get those though. You have to kind of be in the know, and you have to take whatever they give you.
That's an inside
no
track kind of
asked.
thing. Yeah. You gotta kind of be close to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck with
And if you say no, then you kind of lose your place and you get booted. Yeah. Exactly. But I don't know. I do like I think one other big selling point of breeding your own rodents is that you know what's going into your rodents.
Yeah, I agree with
if you're
that.
buying them from somebody else, they could be diseased. They could have some other issue going on, and I mean some rodent colonies have been shown to transmit different human diseases. So if you're thawing out rodents, then you could be exposed to human pathogens potentially as well. So I was talking to one of my friends who's a veterinarian up on campus, and he keeps falcons. So he was telling me a story that they were breeding. There was this major producer of falcons, right? And he was supplying like the Middle East with falcons and stuff. He was a breeder in the United States, and I guess he started his falcons, their production just crashed. Like it was just not going well at all, and he went back to the producer of the quail that he was feeding his falcons, right? And found that the quail breeder was also having issues, producing quail to sell as feeders. And so he asked, he was trying to get to the bottom of it, but he found out that it was a feed issue. That the feed producer had made a change in their feed, and that it had affected the breeding of the birds. So what they said was, what was on the package was not what was going into the feed, and so they found out that they were getting one of the ingredients for the feed from some place that was kind of their quality had lowered, and so just this chain reaction resulting in no falcon production. And so once they got that fixed, and the quail producer started buying a different feed or changed their feed, then the quail started breeding better, and the falcons therefore started breeding better. So those nutrient issues can compound, and so. And
but to be fair, that can happen whether that could happen to you as a at-home rodent breeder. Yeah, I mean, and it certainly could happen to a commercial, breeder as well. So,
but if it's your colony and you see the decline, or you see the less healthy rodents or some issue with the rodents, you're going to be less inclined to feed those. But if they come to you dead in a bag, you're not going to know if they were or diseased or something like that, as long as it's not external, and you don't know.
Yeah, I mean that is fair. That I think one, if you catch it, you may not necessarily, how long did his falcon production suffer before he figured out where it was coming from. So I think you're still kind of open to that, and I do, although it's definitely been shown that certain viruses and parasite, bacteria and stuff can still infect an animal even after it's been frozen and rethawed. That euthanasia and then the freezing process is a good barrier a lot of times between stuff that if you're feeding live could be easily communicated right from the rodent to the reptile. But
I will respectfully disagree with that. We working in a virus lab, we freeze down our virus supplies, and they are quite happy to sit in frozen conditions for years, if not decades. So
sure, okay, so maybe not.
Still,
maybe not all viruses, but certainly bacteria don't always respond that way as well. You know, like your
well, I would probably say that's kind of one of those myths that's persisted, that we think if you freeze it down then it's okay, but I would say you'd still run the risk of exposing your animals to pathogens.
The same risk?
Have pathogens.
The same risk?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, you could just be delaying it or putting into a kind of a waiting stage. But yeah, it's probably. I mean, that's hard to say.
Yeah,
but I think lots of pathogens can do just fine in the freezer.
Well, I guess at a frozen state, you don't see viruses replicating, right? You don't see bacteria replicating in a frozen state. So you're right. Potentially, if it's there, you could pass it. But you are talking about, a pause in viral load or a pause in bacterial load when it's frozen. It doesn't necessarily eliminate it. But, so... Okay, well, all right. Point taken.
Yeah. It's just one of those other things that I think people think, oh, if I freeze it, then there's no risk. But there's.
Well, I did not say that. I did not say that. I think it is a.
That's true.
But I do think it. I think there is a good. It does provide a barrier that not freezing it doesn't. I mean, can we agree there?
Well, I mean, potentially. I mean, if you have a feeder that's sick, as long as you're not, culling your feeders when they're sick and feeding them to your reptiles, that's probably. So I guess if you were to take your live rodent and feed it when it was most sick, then yeah, you'd have a greater risk. But if you take your live rodent and cull it and then freeze it when it's most sick, you could have a higher pathogen than if you let that rodent recover or die and throw it away, But if it recovers, then it's kicking the pathogen out, and you're not going to have that huge load of pathogen either. So, it just depends on the timing and your understanding of things. It depends on the pathogen. Like some pathogens, you can look healthy and feel good, and you can still be passing on that virus and have a huge viral load. But if you're, and sometimes when you're most symptomatic, the virus is actually decreasing in your body. And so, it depends on the pathogen. It depends on the situation and the timing and a lot of things. So there's no easy answer to that, I guess, which is the case with most things. There's no simple answer. But with this argument, I think the simple answer is it's better to breed your own rodents.
According to you, of course, sure, no problem, yeah. What the hell? That's the most Dr. Julander response to anything I've ever heard.
Hey, I gotta slip it in there somehow, right? Yeah, I think I'm trying to think. I had another idea, but it left my brain, so I need more sleep or something. I think I'm coming down with something. My coworker got flu. Despite, I guess the vaccine is not working well for flu A, I guess, this year. So the beauty of some years of vaccine. But what do you do? Anything else you want to add? You got any other points?
No, I think like my biggest thing, and this is just like, so, as I've kept different reptiles and different, just the myriad of stuff that I've done in this, the thing that really like I don't like about keeping lots of reptiles is it puts you, and not every reptile. I think snakes are a little bit less like this. Lizards are definitely like this. Geckos are like this. Stuff that has to be fed regularly and kept regularly. It puts you on the clock. It puts you on a schedule. It puts you, and it's like it's a commitment that like whether your stupid coworker gets you sick or you pull your freaking hamstring and you can't walk or whatever, that stuff needs to be taken care of, and you got to go do it, and you just suck it up and get your ass in there and go do it. And I guess that was one of my biggest frustrations with rodents was they absolutely are kind of that top echelon of putting you on the clock of like, you have to keep up with this or it's bad. So that was kind of like one of the reasons, like when, that was what bothered me the most about breeding rodents, was just how tied to taking care of those rodents I were. Because, yeah, you could let it slack a little, but that has effects down the chain, for your animals, right? So, like, that was my big thing, is like, man, it's worth it for me to pay, a rodent producer that I really trust to do it, and that's their full-time job, and they have a business around it and a name, and I don't know, it just was easier for me, and so it to me it's truly a convenience thing, and are you unfreezing me by moving your monitor? It always works.
Yeah, it is. It is got a lag, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay.
I did remember what I was going to say. So if you are if you're doing this as a business and you want to lower your production costs, I think breeding rodents is a good way to do that, and to not be beholden to somebody else, to kind of have the freedom of having the feeders you need. And I think you see a lot of big breeders that do that. You see them having a feeder barn or whatever, like Justin Kabilka. I think he does have a big breeder set up for rodents, and it's huge, right, to keep up with his collection. So either he does that or he's associated with somebody that does that kind of breeds just for him, so I think that's something to keep in mind. But I mean, that's a big production, and yeah. I think it's almost like you have to hire somebody to do that and stuff. So it doesn't make a lot of sense necessarily if you have a small collection, or you don't, if you're not a professional breeder, to breed your own animals. So I think for my collection I could probably go either way. One of my least favorite things to do is thaw rodents. It sucks because you got to have some, depending on how many animals you're feeding, you got to have some giant bucket full of warm water, and it takes, hours, and then you got these floppy, wet, sopping wet rodents, dead rodents, that you got to dry off or whatever and feed to your animals. I hate it. I really, really hate it. So I think breeding rodents just takes away that issue, and I don't have to mess with it.
So I will give you that wet rodents stick to substrate, and I don't like that aspect of it. I don't like thawing a rodent and you've thawed it in too warm of water for too long, and when you have a snake that is aggressive and it hits that thing and that thing just explodes all over the place and it's gross. I will agree with you on that point. Yeah.
Defer to that. Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean,
so what do you do? Do you just throw them in the bucket? And
so I bag them, and then I'll put them in the sink.
The bags always leak, don't they?
The bags do leak a lot of times. I mean,
so that goes back to the wife thing. Then you're putting it in your sink, and your wife's like,
my
get
daughter's
this crap out of my house. Yeah.
They
don't want to go in there and find a bunch of thawing rats in their sink or their bathroom.
But my wife also hated me breeding rodents. Like that was, that's not a popular thing to the wife and kids as well.
That's a good point. We had one landlord that was really cool, and we moved to this place, and I said, hey, I have rodents, I need to, and he's like, you can keep them indoors. So we kept the rodents in the house, which was terrible, It didn't last long. We found a place outside to put them in a shed and heat that and such. But during that time, as long as I kept up on the cleaning, it wasn't too bad, and I had to vent it out the window and stuff. But yeah, there were some days where it's like my wife would not be happy. Heidi would be like, "Get down there and clean those stinky things out."
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely feel like just buying frozen thawed and keeping them in its own freezer in the garage. My wife doesn't have to the worst she deals with is a bag of rodents that gets thawed out in the sink, and fed off, and she's a lot cooler with that than the smell or dealing with a garage full of live rodents. So,
and I will say, I'd rather be married than have a rodent colony. So if it came down to it, I would probably be okay to buy.
Word up,
and
word up.
Yep. So you gotta know what's best for you in your own situation. So I'm very fortunate right now, and it's working out. Well, I'm not going to say it's working out great right now because of the escapees, but yeah. So, but overall, over the last 20 years, it hasn't been bad. It's worked out pretty well, and I've been pretty happy with breeding rodents. So, yeah, I think I brought up all my topics. Any other things you can think of in regards?
I'm spent.
Yeah,
I'm spent.
It's a good topic. I mean, I think anybody getting into this needs to kind of consider that. You got to know where your feeders are coming from. And when you mentioned the lizards, having crickets and things, that was a big pain. I hate crickets. Crickets die so easy, and they stink. They can stink worse than rodents sometimes. If it's
so.
Shipping them here in the winter, it was a nightmare.
So I went from eating the cost of buying 1,000 crickets at a time and keeping them in a tub and feeding them off to just going to the reptile store and buying what I need, and it's cost me more, but it's I don't have tons of loose crickets. I do, it's way better that way, and it's
you don't have a lot of die-offs.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. There's a part of me that's geckos are cool, and reptiles are cool, but snakes are nice and easy. And
they are. Yeah, that does. That is a good point. But I mean, having a roach colony, the dubia colony, and I've actually thrown in some mealworms into the roach colony, and now I've got a double feeder supply, so I can pull mealworms and dubias out of there.
Those stupid dubias roaches, you can get sensitive to those. There's
that's true.
I feel like there's a caveat to all of the feeder kind of you know what I mean. Yeah. You know what I mean.
I do know what you mean, and I agree. I mean, I think there's a downside to just about anything you can do. So as long as the good outweighs the bad, and hopefully the things that we've brought up will kind of clue you into some of the challenges or some of the downsides or some of the upsides of what both sides, so you can make the best choice for you and your collection. I guess that's the best thing you can do, is just think about what you're doing and do the best for you and your family and whatever situation you're in. I do remember when I was a kid, my uncle would, this was back in the 80s, so, I don't think you could get away with this anymore, but my uncle would give me the control mice from the studies, and so he would I would pick up 30 mice from his house, and I was so happy to get, free mice from this source, and back I probably should have set up a colony, because these were good, lab strains.
Good lab, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Hey man, that's
I think the statute of limitations is passed, and he's retired anyway, so I don't know what anybody could do to him.
Yeah, those studies are shelved by now. I don't think.
Yeah. And I did, when I was in grad school, I was able to get some of the frozen, the controls that were euthanized, humanely euthanized and frozen down. I could get some of those out of especially from the behavior lab or something. Those rats were gold, man. They were free rodents, that were prime, large rats, and for free. So
what is it? So if you were to try to purchase laboratory strain rodents, what does that require? Like, do you have to have is there a license for that, or is it like you have to represent how are they like?
I think a big part of it is you have to have like protocols in place for ethical treatment of the animals. You have to be a legitimate, there needs to be some oversight. You need to be adhering to government policies and things like that. And I think that's why rodent supply companies just don't supply to private individuals anymore, because there's just too much of a risk of something, some bad press or something occurring. This breeder lost their mind and released a bunch of rats and mice into the streets or something, and
release Ratatouille.
Exactly. Ratatouille.
That's what you got loose right now, fucking Ratatouille.
Oh my gosh,
that motherfuckers.
Those things are, they're going to be the death of me here. I think I've got. I'm not going to say it because I probably don't have it under control. But
well, we'll tune in next week to find out.
Exactly. Yeah. We can talk about it on the holiday show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a good discussion.
Yeah,
that was
that's good
discussion.
That's a wrap.
Feeders are an important consideration in this hobby for sure.
Definitely.
Anything that eats other animals. So
definitely.
All right. Well, you listening to anything good or seeing it? The holiday show was fantastic.
Obviously I caught the holiday show. Yeah, that was good.
I got to clear the air though. Freaking Nipper, man. He's saying I'm listening to Taylor Swift and country music.
Yeah, dude.
What is he? Was there? I don't know.
And then
my playlist. There's no country or Taylor Swift
not.
anywhere near my playlist.
I do feel like he misrepresented you a little bit. I agree with that. And then he's bagging on burritos. I'm like, dude.
Oh my gosh. Those burritos were fantastic.
Have you have you eaten British food? Some of it's horrible. He's not gonna tell me that. And first of all, like, he needs to come to San Diego, and it's really tacos that, like, I think you need to eat tacos, burritos. There's nothing wrong with a good California burrito.
I love it.
But you know what? I don't think Nipper gets to comment. You know what I mean?
Those
He's
burritos
out of
that we
Conus.
ate. Yeah, those burritos that we ate were fantastic.
Yeah.
No outer Conus folks need to.
Yeah.
They can't fuss about it.
He can just have his English breakfast.
Outer Conus. He's out of Conus.
Yeah.
And he didn't mention what kind of music he listens to or he wanted to listen to. It's this is what do you even it's like techno.
Yeah.
I'm like,
no, what did he say? Swedish
50-year-old man goes to.
What did he say?
Techno.
Swedish death techno or something? Is that what he listens to?
Oh yeah. I mean, he muzzes. What kind of dance is a muzz? I think he might have demonstrated it, but it was like, oh man, people in glass houses,
Yeah. I definitely feel like he set himself up with his airing of grievances, and then I have to admit that in the chat he was responding to something, and his grammar was horrible. How can a man who criticizes English vernacular have a grammar? You gotta tighten up there. It's again back to the throwing stones issue. I totally agree. But
I love Nipper. He's a wonderful guy.
Of course.
I think it's part of his persona. He's got to be the grumpy old man or something.
Well,
but like, he's a very lovely individual. I really enjoyed hanging out with him. I was kind of I don't know what it is. It's like, you see these personalities online and you kind of prejudge a little. You're like, oh man, can I spend a week with this guy? Is he going to be like this the whole week? And Nipper did throw a little shade or whatever you want to say. It was entertaining,
It's all talking shite.
It's all talk. It's all for show.
It's all talking shite.
He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's a very good person. I really enjoy him.
I hope nobody ever. Yeah, I love to talk the shite. My background is nothing but hazing and shit talking. So, I know.
Oh, yeah,
I know
can
exactly
tell that
where
when we go
Nipper's
on a
coming
herb
from.
trip, man.
Oh yeah, come on, man! Like,
you're throwing the shade, yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, that I think Nipper's one of my favorite people. He's great. So, and I mean,
even when he's muzzing.
Even when he's muzzing, I could watch Nipper muzz, and that would
as
be
long as
wonderful.
Nipper muzzes and he buzzes and he's happy,
Yeah.
I'm good.
And I mean, I don't know. I this whole you got to pronounce it the right way. As long as people know what you're talking about. Maybe I think we had this discussion right with Justin with Schmitty, and talked about how to pronounce things or what to use like scientific names or whatever. And as long as we can communicate, I don't have to say Brettily for you to know that I'm talking about Brettily. I can say Brettili, and
Oh, great! Now we're gonna piss
Brettily.
Iper off.
Exactly.
Oh my God! Here we go.
And I think these people that stay up late trying to correct people on how they're pronouncing things. I mean, I get it. If you're saying Papayan python, then maybe it would be kind of more humane to correct that person and say it's actually Papuan or Papuan or however you want to say it. I mean, Papayan's a little bit of a stretch, or Lesser Sudan.
Lesser Sudan is awesome. That's awesome. I say you let that go. I think that's.
Oh, I was
like
in
you
the
say,
same boat
as long as you know, I let them roll with lesser Sudan.
I think that's where
it is way lesser Sudan, way lesser Sudan. Yeah,
it's a little bit far afield from Sudan, so I think that one's worthy of a correction. I side with Nipper on that one, but when I listened to that show, I'm like, Lesser Sudan, come on, guys, what are you doing? I thought that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah,
so
that was good.
Yeah, kudos there.
That was good.
And I thought it was really funny when Iper was complaining about something, and Eric's like, well, who's the one who threw the barbecue with no meat and no fire or whatever? It didn't plan that very well, did you? And he made the comment, I know we're not Dave Kaufman, but because I guess Dave saw quite a few monitors and had a nice little barbecue with the Ipers, so it's funny. Yeah, those Aussies, man, they go for the big names, the Tom Crutchfields and the Dave
Crutchfields.
Guys like us, we get no respect. We don't have a thriving YouTube channel or anyway.
I'm happy being small potatoes.
Yeah, but the holiday show was very entertaining.
Oh yeah,
and man, Mr. Personality of the Year for Lucas's selection.
Well,
I'm among royalty, man. That's awesome.
Come on, me. I don't think of myself that way, and
you are blushing. You are blushing.
Oh my God, I'm not blushing right now. That's ridiculous. But no, I feel like I beat out Dr. Loafman. You know what I mean? I figured Lucas would be, Dr. Loafman would be his man of the year, but no. So I'm definitely.
I think to be fair, he was last year.
Yeah. He's working down the list. But the fact that I'm on the list, that's pretty awesome. And I mean, I don't think of myself as that, like whatever. I'm not. I don't see myself the way.
You know who does? Your co-host does.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You're the man. You're the man. And I agree.
That.
Lucas is right. You got the personality. You got the fire. It's a lot of fun podcasting with you, man.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I feel the same way. I don't. I think we're peas and carrots, bro. Peas and carrots.
Yep. Yeah. This is a good mix. They were right. We have some good chemistry. Good mix.
Yeah,
so.
I agree with that. Yep. And hey, can we just take a minute to talk a little shit about being number 2 in the network? We did it. We fell short last year. We were number 3
Luke
last
and
year.
Jason were number 2.
We now sit at the right hand of the Podfather.
That's correct. Yeah, we gotta bask in that glory. Who knows how long it'll last? But
Yep.
I think we got a little lucky there because Luke he and his wife had a baby, and so he's been busy a little more with that. But oh man, I was watching his latest YouTube video. He did some herping and caught a few. He had some fun captures of some sandies, some sand goannas, so that was a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, check out his YouTube page. He does some cool stuff. I'm blanking on the name. Luke. His YouTube. What he calls his
Beach's
YouTube.
Scaly
I guess
Beast.
I could probably look it up, but yeah, Beach's
Right?
Scaly Beast. Yep.
Yeah.
He does a really good YouTube page, so
Yeah.
check him out.
Agreed.
Killer enclosures. Yeah, he does a good job.
Thanks to Luke's baby, we're number 2. So appreciate that, baby. Well done.
That's a good baby. Yeah.
That's a
Cute
good baby.
Kid, so.
That's right.
They
That's
did well.
right. That's
you
right.
focus on that child now. You hear me?
Don't let up,
be
man.
trying to
You're a
get
parent
the-
now.
with the-
You've got
Exactly.
you've got things to
Gotta be
do.
responsible.
People to raise. Yeah.
Chuck and I, we're almost empty nesters.
That's
know?
correct.
We can
I'm close to
spend time
death. I need
messing
this.
around with
I need this. You
podcast.
know, like this is.
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
This is all that
we're
I'm
old,
hanging on
we-
for. Honestly, you know. I
We
don't
might
get,
as well be those two old Muppets, you know.
I might die if I don't get number 2 again next year.
That's right. Yeah, we got to stay on top, man. We got to. But
And we're going to have to step up our game because Eric is stepping up his game. So that was
That's
one of
right.
his comments
That's right.
was that he felt like he's been editing too many podcasts that are not of NPR and I agree with that because goddamn, he's got a lot of podcasts under his belt right now.
He does.
Yeah.
I mean that was probably a good thing to step.
He
down
went. He
a
went
couple
from
of them.
collecting every carpet he possibly could get his hands on to collecting every podcast he could possibly get his hands on, and now he's like, I would just want to focus a little bit. You know, I want to focus on my
right.
podcasts. That's awesome.
And it's good to hear our buddy Dustin Grahn has taken over on the Gecko podcast. That's a good fit,
Yep.
man. I'm looking forward to listening to that. So
Yeah.
and I will say for our holiday show next week, Dustin will be joining us, as well as our other fellow herper on that Arizona trip. We're getting the band back together, and Steve Sharp will be there too. So.
Tops, man. Tops. It'll be that's my favorite
good
peeps.
crew.
So
Yeah.
there is. I don't know if there's I'm sure there's good herp
Man.
company out there, but that's my faves.
Yeah, and I mean Dustin's getting his kudos, man. He's getting the kudos for what he's done. He's what the recognition. That's the word I'm struggling here for. That he's getting the recognition he deserves, man. That guy is the man.
Can we
Right?
just say how butthurt is somebody that they didn't find Price Eye? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, and Scott's comment about he should have worked it harder.
Yeah. See.
We worked it hard. I mean, we were there at the crack of dawn. We were there pretty much all day looking for Price Eye. We about got heat stroke looking, you know, and
Mate,
I mean,
it was Chuck who found it. It was Chuck who found it.
there you go, man. There you go. You
So
got to take your kudos too.
Not only did Dustin whoop him on the Price Eye, it was the new tosser in the group who found it. Ouch! That's like a double whammy.
Oh no, that was well deserved, man.
That's
We
not
put
an
in-
easy.
we
They're
put in
not
the work.
easy. They're not easy to. I mean,
No.
you know. Yep. You
Even
gotta.
if you're standing over top of them.
Oh, my gosh.
you might miss them.
Oh my gosh.
You got to have Chuck there with you, or else you're gonna miss it.
They
entirely.
buzz, and then you muzz.
We were muzzing that day, that's for sure.
Word.
A double muzz. Yeah,
double
Steve
muzz.
found the second one, and we basically passed by it. So I think you need somebody to flush them. So apparently on that trip, I was the flusher. I would flush them out, and then whoever was behind me could find the cool stuff. So
that's a fair statement.
Anyway,
that's a fair statement.
Hey,
we were Montane muzzing on that
right?
trip.
I mean, that's right. That was the triple knockout. The trio. That was a good trip.
Yep.
So
we'll do it again.
I mean the Willard eye was a little bit of a
it was good to see. I mean, it was cool to see, but
again, a team effort. A
team effort.
He wasn't not necessarily on our direct team, but
he wasn't in our group, but he was on our team. Yeah.
The right time. Yeah, that's right. Because we pointed a club out to him, so he returned the favor with a Willard eye. So it worked. Yep. Well, anything else good out there that people need to check out this week?
Yeah, I've been super busy. I haven't had too much else. I listened to the holiday show.
Same. Yeah.
I haven't. I've just been doing too much. Do less.
I've been listening to books lately, so I need
books on tape.
I need to get into a few more podcasts, but yep.
Nice.
It looks like Jordan Russell did an interview on Project Herpetoculture, so
nice. I'll listen to that.
He goes back a ways, huh?
Yeah.
Used to be into the Morelia as well.
Yeah, he was a.
I guess you can check out my episode. They released that last week on December 2nd. So if you want to listen to me blather on Animals at Home Network on the Project,
of course I do. Of course I do. Yeah. You ready for the holidays? Christmas?
Okay.
You're just ready to go skiing.
I believe I am. Yeah. No, I'm ready for a little break. That'll be nice. It's always fun to hang out with the family. We got to pick up Ashley yesterday, so that was really fun, and surprise her with a little early Christmas present. There was this poster outside of Heidi's office, and there was like, it's like university propaganda posters or whatever, like students doing
university propaganda posters. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Hey, I mean, there's some of that out there. Anyway, it was this kid, I guess. Ashley found him attractive, and he's like in the crowd of a crowded basketball game, and he's doing the double point, at the camera, like, and this intense stare, and so Ashley loved that poster, and every time we'd go past it, we'd like point at him, it was kind of funny. And so anyway, they took that poster down and replaced it with some redhead kid eating an ice cream cone. So she was really upset about it. Yeah. And so Heidi went to one of her coworkers who was kind of in charge of that area or whatever, and he got the file of that picture, and so we printed out this 4 foot by like 2.5 foot poster of this kid pointing and put it in her room. So when she got home from Costa Rica, he was there in her bedroom pointing at her. So she walked in, and it was so cute. She was so surprised that she was just laughing and crying and hugging us. It was great. It was fun. Nice. Fun reunion. It's always nice to have the kids back. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird having grown up kids, like,
isn't it?
Out and doing their own things, and it's fun to see them blossom. Though they're doing really well. So, yep, we're ready for a nice holiday together. Kate comes home next week as well, so we'll have Kate back, and then we'll have the whole crew back in the house for a couple weeks anyway, and then Ashley's shipping out to the Midwest somewhere. I think she's going up to like Michigan or Iowa or something like that. One of those places, crazy states. Yeah. She's going to go assemble sheds for like Sam's Club or something. So it should be interesting.
Sheds. Oh, like sheds. Oh, like okay. Like I had the wrong sheds.
Not like shed skins.
Yeah. I'm like, that's weird. It's like.
and she's getting
Reptile,
paid really well.
Leatherface.
So she's, yeah, she'll be out for, I guess, maybe a few weeks, and then she's going to go visit a friend, out in Alabama. So she's just going all over the place, but good times. I guess that's the joys of being young and having your whole life ahead of you instead of old and near to the grave like me and Chuck are.
That's right. So. Holding on to number 2. That's all I got to live for.
Yeah.
So.
All right, my friend. I think we've done it. We've recorded another episode, and hopefully you guys, a listener out there, has gotten something out of it. So thanks for listening to us. We appreciate you guys for supporting us. We appreciate the people who have sent in suggestions, and keep them coming. We'll get you on. We've got a few cool guests lined up for the new year. So I'm excited to have some new names on the podcast and,
nice.
and some recognizable people on the podcast. It's going to be a fun time. So thanks again for listening to us. I guess we'll shout out the NPR network, the illustrious Podfather, and the Mac and Wookie at his side, just pumping out the shows and just doing the herp community a huge service. So we really appreciate you guys. You're the best. So thanks for hosting our fun little podcast, and check them out on NPR MoreliaPythons.com. I should really know that better before I start talking about it. I'm sorry, Eric. I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you know where to find the guys. So
yeah.
Yep. So yeah, we'll catch you next week with our holiday show, and thanks for listening this week, and we'll catch you soon.
Don't get drunk at your Christmas party.
Fight Club.